guys? Welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go to an article titled, I Asked My Wife for Her Ring Back. And guys, this article is obviously written by a guy, and he's going to go through his story here, how obviously his marriage didn't work out. And you're going to find out real quick it's because of his wife's dishonorable action. And ultimately this guy, unlike many other guys, says, hey, I want my ring back. Now, this is always an issue that gets people worked up, particularly men and women, because guys always say, hey, you know what? That ring was on the basis that you're going to marry me. It wasn't a gift free and clear. I spent that money on it to propose, and if it doesn't work out, you got to give that back to me so I can obviously get my money back or get some money for it. Women, on the other hand, say, oh, no. It was a gift. It was a gift to me, so I should have it no matter what. And it's always back and forth. And in my opinion, here's the deal. This is the way I see it. If a guy gets a ring and proposes to his girl, and she screws up the marriage, or she screws things up before they get married, cheats on him, or does something, whatever, disloyal, she screws it up, then she got to give it back. End of story, okay? Because it was on the basis that she'd marry him that she got that ring. On the other hand, if he gave her that ring and they were engaged or they got married, and then later on, obviously, he screwed up the relationship, without a shadow of a doubt, he cheated on her or did something pretty freaking bad, then in that case, then she wants to keep the ring, okay. That's how I see it. But a lot of people they fight over this, and women are like, oh, no, that's a gift. Well, that's a bunch of crap. Now, some women see it with the guy's side, but not a whole lot. But anyhow, I'm going to go through this article here. He's going to this is a way for him, honestly. He shares his story, but he's also venting about the situation. But since he's a brother, he's gone through some hardships, I'm going to go over that. I'm going to read his thing so he can be heard. And then I'll add my 2 cents here and there. And obviously, in the end, we got a few comments on women on this particular subject. And you can imagine their take on this particular debate. So, again, it starts off. It says, I asked my wife for her ring back. He says, I didn't want it, but I didn't want her to have it. I watched from the back seat as people walked into the courthouse. I watched, and yet I didn't see them. Blurred from tears clinging to my eyes, tears I didn't want the woman sitting next to me to see. If I only closed my eyes, I could hide from the world. But closing them would push tears from my eyes, and then she'd know. So it sounds like he's at the court ready to get right through the divorce. And as the saying goes, never let him see you cry. Do not let his ex see him cry. Oh, hell no. She knew I still cared, that I still loved. Not that it mattered any longer. Green flickered on the dash. The neon clock shifted. The time a sword to my back, a dagger to my throat, a gun to my heart. Every new minute, the weapon of choice pushed harder, deeper. This guy's obviously a writer here. They're obviously waiting for his turn to go to see the judge. Soon it would meet me walking into the courthouse. Would I be able to see? Would the moisture from my eyes clear? Or would whatever tears I had shed over the past weeks empty themselves? A hand on my shoulder, her hand. A hand I felt 1,000,000 times over. A hand I'd held. A hand I'd kissed. I've interlaced my fingers with hers when we were intimate, palms sweating, muscles tightening. But now it was just a hand, a weight to nudge me awake, to hold me against the sword. Hold out your hand, she said. I did so without questioning, extending it to her, something I've done so many times. To pull her up, to lean on her, I offered her my hand one final time as a husband and wife. I wouldn't be taking her hand, I'd slap that hand. I felt the slightest weight drop into my palm. I knew without looking what it was. The weight of 1,000 dreams, 1,000,000 hopes, infinite possibilities. We just happened on the possibility I hadn't hoped or dreamed. Through the foggy veil of tears shielding my eyes, there it lay, her engagement ring, the luster now gone. Dragged out of it was the loss of our relationship, forever gone, never to return. She said, it's time to go inside. I want it back. She says, you're a real piece of shit, you know that? The Facebook message pinged on my computer. A message from my wife's best friend, the friend I never met in person because she didn't travel for the wedding. But then, none of her friends traveled for the wedding. Asking for the ring back, it's not yours to ask back. The old best friend. How many guys have been in breakups or situations with your girl, things gone ugly, and the best friend or her circle of harpies decide to give you a hard time and shame you for, God forbid, something you did or said? In this case here, he told her, I want the ring back. Now, obviously, this starts off in the present day where she gave the ring back to him. But now we're going back in time a little bit, and he's reflecting how the best friend gave him a hard time. Guys, for your relationship, guys, if you ever have a situation that things go badly with your girl, and their friends try to get involved and tell you a thing or two, pretty much tell them to F off, because it's none of their damn business. That's how I've always handled things. That's how I always handle things, and I encourage you to do the same thing. And usually when the gals start getting involved, it's usually because they don't respect you. Because if it's a guy they respect, they'll handle it a little differently. Anyway, it goes on, asking for the ring back, it's not yours to ask back, according to the best friend. Truth be told, I don't remember how I asked for it back. Was it in a fight? Was it in a scream match? Did I tell her if she didn't want to be by my side, then she shouldn't keep the promise represented in the ring? Did I say if she could take it off when effing the other guy, then she had no right to keep it? Nope, no right to keep it. I didn't know. I still don't, but the words were said. An engagement ring isn't a gift, I wrote. It's a promise, and I'd like my broken promise back. I think fair is fair there. Take all biases out of there. Again, like I said in the beginning, if he got her that ring, the engagement ring he proposed, and he screwed it up by cheating up with one of her best friends or her sister or I don't know who, and she kept that ring, okay, fine, because he screwed the whole thing up. On the other hand, if she cheated on him, then no. That's coming back to him. Let him take that back, get some money for it. That's the least that can be done if someone's remotely civil. But some of these nut jobs think that they're entitled to that ring no matter what they did. That's a bunch of crap. He says, I don't know if I felt that way any longer, or if I felt that way at all. Part of me didn't want her profiting off the engagement ring, off the love I pulled into tracking it down, securing it, caring for it while I hid it away, preparing for a proposal, checking on it like a secret pet, making sure it was doing okay. Part of me wanted to hurl it into the nearest body of water. Emotions were foggy, interwoven. I didn't know where the sadness ended and hatred began. I didn't send her another message, meaning the friend. The next day, she was no longer on my friends list. The downward tick in Facebook friendships didn't bother me. The words did. Was I a piece of crap for asking for it back? Hell no. And here's a question. How much did this guy spend on this ring? I mean, there's some dudes that will spend 10 grand or more on a stupid ring. You're out of your damn mind if you do that. And if your girl insists that you spend all this money on the ring and she throws a temper tantrum because you didn't, that tells you everything you need to know about her. Everything you need to know. Because if she's truly in love with you and wants to be with you, then by all means, it wouldn't matter to her. But for these gals, it does matter. That says everything you need to know. So, guys, let me tell you something. For most of you guys, $10,000 is a hell of a lot of money. So you spend $10,000 on a ring, not that you guys would, but if you did, you sure as shit want that back, especially if she messed up the marriage or messed up the engagement. And even if you can't get all the money back, you at least get part of it back and use that money for yourself. Book yourself a nice vacation to go unwind and get over the failed marriage. Not your fault, but she messed it up. Something. Or do what I would do and put it in an index fund or something. He says here that deep down I wanted back what my love had crafted. It didn't cut the diamond or forge the metal, but the journey both ring and heart went on to find each other and felt like it was its own relationship. I almost lost mine. Or was it all make-believe? Had I turned into the commanding officer, walking past a soldier and stripping her of her rank, tearing insignia from a uniform before a final discharge? The fog of sadness and anger. This dude ought to be a writer. My brain couldn't see clearly through the haze. In the end, my eyes couldn't see clearly through the haze. The judge sat and talked. I stood and didn't listen. Words went through me. I felt the weight of the ring in my pocket. Its weight pulled my mind, sinking into a black depth, a depth where every word spoken sounded of yells from above water. But they were not saving me from drowning in these emotions. They were mandates to keep me there. In the end, we signed something. Someone stamped something else, and it was done. Eventually, she flew to where she now called home. I remained in mine, the ring staying with me. Good. I'm glad this guy stayed strong and says, this is my damn ring. And yet, as days turned into weeks, turned into months, the ring plagued me. It turned from a representation of love to a representation of failure. I look at it and remember what it should have meant, and yet I know what it had become. I should have not asked for it back. No. You absolutely should have asked for it back. You may not want to look at it. It's not going to possess you like Sauron's ring. This isn't Lord of the Rings. Just take that ring back and sell it. Even if you got to go to a pawn shop and get some money for it. But don't leave it there in your drawer letting it haunt you. I should have hurled it into the nearest body of water. Well, you're not the old lady from Titanic, and that'd be a waste of your money. So no, don't be dramatic, bro. I know you're a creative writer, and there's some drama in the writing here, but let's not be ridiculous. You wouldn't take a stack of $100 bills and go throw it in the water, would you? So that's what that ring represents. He says, and now someone else owns it. For all I know, someone else is wearing it. Showing off is a symbol of their love. In many ways, I hope that this is the case. It was a complicated journey obtaining that ring. Finding it in New York City, having the gemologist, that's what they're called, call in a few favors to pluck it before several others were able to nab it. For whatever reason, it ended up in my hands. It ended up on my ex-wife's hands. But we weren't the final journey for the ring. It had another leg of its travels. And maybe all it needed was for me to find it and eventually sell it to someone who calls it their own forever. Okay, he did eventually sell that, thank God. I want to kill the guy if he threw in a body of water. I don't remember how I asked for the ring back, but if it ends up working out for someone else, then perhaps that's all that matters. The end. Again, guys, a little exercise of this guy in creative writing, but the bottom line is this: didn't work out for him. This guy had the balls to say, hey, that's my freaking ring back. And always goes back to the same thing. Is it a gift forever, or is it a promissory type of transaction? And I wholeheartedly say that is on the basis that she marries his ass and stays true. If she doesn't, or if she screws it up, she got to give that back. End of story. Any reasonable person would understand this. Any reasonable person. Now, I got a couple comments here. 2 from women. One that is in agreement with me, in agreement with what he did. And another woman who is absolutely against what I have to say. So the first one, this is a woman for what I have to say. She says, wait, she cheated on you and your wife's best friend called you a piece of shit. Isn't your ex-wife the piece of shit, pardon my French, in this scenario? And that friend really thinks the ring has value, which those rings depreciate nearly 90% after being worn. What the heck? Sir, you dodged a serious bullet. Kudos to you for divorcing. And yes, you should throw that ring into a lake. Well, I agree with everything she said except for the throwing the ring into the lake. Now, I didn't know it depreciates that much. I have a hard time believing that. Maybe some of you guys that are into jewelry or whatever may know the answer to that one, but I don't think it's that much. But absolutely, she screwed the whole thing up. End of story. Now, this guy, what he has to do now is just simply take it day by day or hour by hour, move on. Because, guys, I know that many of you guys watching this have been divorced and gone through a whole lot of pain and suffering. And in some cases, it seems like every day it's pain and suffering when you write that stupid check to her every month or having to exchange the kids back and forth. But you can move on. We can always, no matter whatever shit we go through, guys, we can get through it. It's going to be a sting or outright feel like a punch in the stomach in the beginning. But eventually, we can all move on. It just, again, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute if you have to. But you can do it. A lot of people think like a lot of guys are miserable marriages and just didn't work out. It is what it is, but they won't walk away. They won't end it because they're just afraid of having to go through all that torture and turmoil of the divorce process. It is far better just to go through that. Then you can get a clean slate, learn from your mistakes and start over as opposed to just going through being miserable day by day. I know different people, different guys that are married and miserable. And it's really a shame to see, but they don't have the balls to do it. Or they are afraid they'll mess up the kids. But the kids are being messed up because they see how much mom and dad can't stand each other. And sadly, those kids will end up in a relationship like that one day. Because I've seen this. I've observed kids who grew up in families where there's turmoil. Parents clearly didn't love each other. They weren't even getting along. And those kids grew up to be in relationships just like that. So I know I'm going off track here with regards to the ring thing. But the point is, this is dealing with divorce. You guys can move on. Seriously. Now we have another comment from a woman who thinks taking the ring back is wrong. Now listen to this. According to her, she says, well, the law disagrees with you. So, when you go into a legal agreement with someone else, do you go based off a promise? No, of course not. You want everything stipulated in a written document. Did you include the marriage contract at the time you offered the engagement ring? No. And if she had lost the ring, would the marriage have happened anyway? Yes, most likely. Thus, the ring is irrelevant to the agreement of the marriage. That's like buying your friend a birthday gift with the promise of staying friends. I love your writing, but the law highly disagrees with your perspective. Well, that may be her interpretation of the law. And guess what? I'm not an attorney, but I know plenty of them. A lot of things are open to interpretation. But here's the deal. it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, first of all, she's justifying this because she obviously would want the damn ring. Let's be honest here. But also, it doesn't matter. They're simply right and wrong. Okay? And oftentimes our guts can tell us what is right and wrong, especially if you are unbiased third party hearing in a situation. And when she talks about the law, blah, 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 believe me, all throughout human history, there have been things that have been illegal, and by all means, they were quite horrible things that benefited a very small percentage of the population. And I'm sure many of you guys can think of examples, which I'm not going to say here because, YouTube is rather sensitive to certain words. But I'm sure you can think of certain things that was something that was abolished in 1865 in the United States. Well, you know what I mean. At the end of that war, amongst many other awful things that have happened throughout human history that were legal at the time. But anyhow, no. That thing is wrong. It's a bunch of crap. She screwed it up. She ought to give it back. If he messed it up, then she could keep it. End of story. But anyhow, guys, real quick one. I know I'm really addressing more of the issue of the whole ring thing as opposed to his story, because that was more of probably a creative exercise, if you will, for him to write something kind of vent, because he obviously had to get over shit. So I'll let him have it. Anyway, guys, that is it for today. Quick video. I saw that thing. I thought it'd be a good thing to go over. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And you guys have been in this situation before? There's been an issue about the ring, whatever. Let me know in the comments section. Let me know the kind of fight you may have had to deal with in getting that ring back. And guys, also, by the way, you ever come across a really great article you'd like me to cover in a future video, by all means, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Make sure, just give me time. If it's definitely a good one, I'll cover it. And also goes for any personal stories. I love doing the personal stories. They're some of the best ones, best videos to do. Of course, here comes the sirens. You got a great personal story, email it to me. Make sure it's well written, good paragraphs, good punctuation. Right away, that would be easy for you to read if you were not like me on camera. Okay? And just give me time. I'll get to it eventually. Okay? Because I get shitloads of these every day, and I can't possibly do them all that quickly. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.